everybody. So when we left off before, we had just finished using this to figure out what 40% of 50 was, and then we were talking about how we have to think a little differently when we're doing it like this because there's not an easy way to go back and forth. So recall when I told you that all fractions are division. And even in the last video, 2 videos ago, when I said that the easier way to find the percentage for a fraction was to do top number divided by bottom number, and whatever that is, that's over 1. So we multiply it by 100, move the decimal 2 spots, and that's out of 100. So as we come over here, one way we can figure out how to do this is we can say, all right, here's my calculator. Okay, so 6 divided by 100 is 0.6, no surprise there. So that means that if this were out of 1, it would be 0.06 out of 1. Well, now we can go from 1 to 3. We know how to do this. So 1 times 3 is 3. So 0.06 times 3 is 0.18. And when we check back, what is 6% of 3? Well, we found out last time that it is, in fact, 18 cents. Okay? That might have seemed a little tricky, so I want to do a couple other ones with you. And we're going to start a new page here. Just doing more of these. And this is one of those priority standards that everybody has to know how to do. So take really good notes and pay really good attention. Okay. Let's say we want to know, I'm going to quick look at your packet for an example because I'm having trouble thinking of a problem. Okay. How about 15% of 85? So first of all, the percentage always goes in the top right corner. And a percentage is always out of 100. And then we want to know 15% of 85. So 85 is the whole. Holes go on the bottom. This whole row is for the holes. And this is for the parts. So we need to find how many things would be 15% of 85. So I can do what I did before. I can do 15 divided by 100. 15 divided by 100 is 0.15 times 85 equals 12.75. So I do the percentage divided by 100, and that gives me the number it would be out of 1. So then I take this number and I want to turn it into how many out of my new whole, in this case 85. So in this case I did 15 divided by 100, got 0.15. So 0.15 out of 1, I want to know how many out of 85. Well, whatever I do to one side to go from 1 to 85, I have to do to the other side. And that's where I got 12.75. So we divide, and then we multiply. It's like we're making a backwards L. Top divided by, do that, times this, and we have our missing piece. Sometimes, though, we have an opposite problem where we want to know what is the whole. So in this case, the question will be worded something like this. It'll say like 10 is 45% of what number? So in this case, we're saying I have 10. That's the part I have. I don't know what the whole is. This is the window I don't know. But I do know 45%, which is the percent is always going to go in the top right, and it's always going to be 100 right here. So we want to ask ourselves, first, let's do this kind of the old-fashioned way. Old-fashioned meaning 2 videos ago instead of 1 video ago. I asked myself, what do I do to 10 to get to 45? Well, some of you might know this. Some of you might go, how'd you know that? But we multiply it by 4.5. I know that 10 times 4 is 40, 10 times 5 is 50, and I want halfway in between there, so I have to do 4.5, which is halfway in between 4 and 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, I'd have to do to the top. So I want to know what number times 4.5 equals 100. Well, I don't know, so I'm going to divide. 100 divided by 4.5 equals 22.22222222. And when we put a line above it, that means going on forever. Okay? So the other way now to think about this, if we think about doing it a more procedural way, we would still start on the right-hand side. We would do 45 divided by 100 and get 45 divided by 100, we get 0.45. This should not be a surprise to anyone, right? Because when we divide by 100, all we're doing is moving the decimal 2 spots over. Okay? Now, this is where it's a little different. Instead of taking that number and multiplying it by what's on the bottom, we don't know what's on the bottom. We have to undo that multiplication, which we do with division. So now we take our top number, our part, and we divide it by what we just got here. I feel like some of you are like, okay, and some of you are like, what in the world is she talking about? So in this case, our part was 10. So when I do 10 divided by 0.45, I get the same answer. So this time we did this divided by this, and then we took this and divided it by what we already had. Let's do one more like that. How about 60 is 50% of what? Some of you might already know this, which is good. That'll help you reinforce the procedures that we're doing here. So 60 is the part. Whatever comes before is goes in this box, which in this case is 60. Is 50%, here my percentage goes, 50 over 100 of what? Sorry, I meant to write of. Whatever comes after of is my whole. So if it says of what, that means I don't know what is. If it says of 50, then 50 would go right here. All right, so I do 50 divided by 100. And I get 0.5. Then I do 60 divided by 0.5. And I get 120. And this makes sense, right? Because a lot of you probably already knew that 60 was half of 120. All right. I'm going to pause here, and then we'll pick this up.